Okay. So we're live. We're just waiting. As soon as Chris jumps on, we should have quorum. Yari, do you know if Robert indicated if he was able to attend or not?
I was under the impression he was. Let me take a look. I sent the invite to him.
Okay. He might have had something else come up. So
I have no declines.
okay. Well, hopefully he'll be here soon. Oh, there's Chris. So Chris, are you able to hear us okay?
Folks.
Okay. Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, very good.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to kick off the first part of the meeting because we have the elections going. So I am going to need a mover and a seconder. Resolve that the nominations be open for the position of chair of the Sault Ste. Marie Sports Hall of Fame Subcommittee for 2022.
I'll move that.
Mark,
I can second it.
Brent, and all in favor, if you could show your hands. Perfect, and that's carried. So do we have any nominations for the position of chair?
I nominate Mark or Chris. Mark, just a quick
Well,
question.
sister.
Well, we also need a vice chair too, so.
Well, Mark, if you're chair, I'll be vice chair.
right.
I agree. I'll go with that for sure.
Okay, so Mark was nominated as chair. I have to do, even though there's a small group, I still have to call for nominations 3 times. So are there any additional nominations? And any other nominations? Seeing none, Mark, would you accept the position of chair?
Yes, I will.
Okay, I need a mover and a seconder. Resolve that nominations be closed. Brent and Chris, thank you. So mover to seconder, resolve that Mark Ontalainen was declared chairperson for the Sports Hall of Fame Subcommittee for 2022.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Mover and seconder, Brent and Chris, all in favor. And that is also carried. Okay, on to the position of chair, mover and seconder to open, resolve that nominations be open for the position of vice chairperson of the Sault Ste. Marie Sports Hall of Fame Committee for 2022. Mark?
I'll move Chris to be vice chair.
And Brent, okay, and seeing as, I'm assuming there's no other nominations, only 2 committee members on. So Chris, do you accept the position of vice chair?
I do.
Okay, and resolve that nominations be closed. Brent, and you guys, your hands are going to get sore. Mark, all in favor? Carried. All right. The last resolution before I turn it over to Mark is resolve that Chris Alfano is declared as vice chairperson for the Sports Hall of Fame Committee for 2022. So mover and a seconder, Brent and Mark. All in favor? Carried. Okay, great. Mark, over to you.
All right.
And just before you get too far, I'm actually just going to share my screen and bring up the timeline for you so everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, is everybody okay to see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, I'll turn it over to you, Mark, and you can review the timelines, or if you have any questions or changes.
Yeah, no, thanks, Virginia. And congrats, Chris, on vice chair.
Thank you.
Everybody want to just look at the document and see the timeline.
My only question, Mr. Chair, is how does this align with last year's? And maybe this goes over to Virginia or Yari.
It's pretty consistent. What I did add in, which is a bit of an adjustment, I added in the social media posts. So we didn't have that as part of the timeline last year. And again, our timeline led into the fall for the induction ceremony. And at the last PrAC meeting, there was discussion about trying to get it back onto its normal track with a June ceremony. So this reflects that discussion that came out of the last PrAC meeting.
I guess this would be subject to no negative change in the current environment, right?
Correct. Or we would have to pivot back to the format that we used last year with the online format. So yeah, hoping that we don't have to pivot, but that's there if required.
Yeah, staying optimistic that we don't have to. But yeah, this timeline looks similar to what we've done in the past. And then, depending on who gets inducted, the induction ceremony is sometimes it's dependent upon if it's persons from out of town, we have to make sure their schedule lines up with our induction ceremony. So, but it looks looks good to me if everybody else is happy.
Do we need to move this timeline?
No, I don't think we need to move it. It was just there for the committee's information. I've also created a draft of 2 social media posts that can go out as well. So hoping to we did send out the press release just because we wanted to try to stay on track with the timelines. So I did get that sent out the beginning of March, just so we can make sure that we're moving forward and giving the potential applicants enough notification to get their applications submitted.
Virginia, quick question. When you're utilizing the social media posts, so are we looking at Facebook? Like, what is social media when we speak along those lines?
So the city has a Facebook page.
Correct.
So we'd be utilizing the city's Facebook page. And then in addition to that, the posts would be sent out to the committee members if they're interested in sharing on their social media platforms.
Okay.
So I can bring up the social media, the posts for you, just so you can take a look. There's 2 different ones that we can utilize. So this is version 1. So it's similar to last year, just updated the colors. And the other thing that I added into what had been done in this past is just the link, so people knew where to go on the city's website to get to the application.
Good stuff.
And
Nice.
second one is there. So again, fairly similar, consistent with the city branding. So yeah, so those would just be scheduled to go out. And again, we'd share them with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee as well. So.
Okay, great. Looks good.
Virginia, in the past too, I don't know if is it on the timeline? Maybe it is. I think we're like all the different sport associations of the city. Don't they receive a letter or an email saying that nominations are open? I think Margaret used to do that.
Yeah, I think, you know what, I think you're right, Mark. I think she did send out information to individuals in the leisure directory. So I can have, we can make sure that's updated as part of the timeline. It wasn't on the one last year, but it should be noted in that timeline for consistency from year to year.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great, I think, because just another way of getting the word out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, no, that's perfect. Thanks, Mark.
So, if there's no more discussion on the timeline, like I said, Virginia, I think it looks great. And so I guess we'll go to the next agenda item, which is new business.
So there wasn't any, I didn't know if any of yourself or Chris had anything that they wanted to bring forward for further discussion at this time.
Not on my end.
No, I'll just bring it up as and sometime we should look at like the current Hall of Fame, like with the plaques and stuff. It's really there's a lot of plaques there now.
Yeah,
I've been in there, and the presentation, I think it could be improved. That's all.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, Mark. We've been doing a lot of looking, we're hoping that there may be an opportunity to house it at the new facility. So I'm actually we've done photos, we've counted out, we've mapped out the wall space. So I just need to make sure that I have enough space for the existing plaques as well as room to grow in the future. So we're working through that. If not, we'll be definitely looking at how do we relay out, because it's really the way it's grown so much over the years that we're bouncing around between walls and we have breaks with the windows. So it's kind of the current location definitely has some logistical challenges with it and it needs to be revisited. So that's, Brent can speak to it as well, but that's been on our radar this past year as we've been trying to map that out. And hopefully we'll have something brand new for the end of this year.
Yeah, maybe I'll just add to Virginia's comments, other than just the second level at the John Rhodes, we're looking at some other canvases within the John Rhodes site as well, potentially on the first level where there's trophy cases right now, and other down towards in between the pool and arena area, other canvas there as well. So if there isn't room in the new twin pad, do we relocate within an existing facility there, or how do we reinvigorate kind of the one that's been there right now, or make better use of the space? So we all agree with that comment, Mark. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that sounds really great. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just say the other part that needs to happen as well, in addition to not just the relocation and the redesign of it, is there are a number of plaques that have faded. So we actually have to get a number of the plaques actually redone. So as we're doing that, there's quite a few. We may end up changing the format or layout of each of the plaques, because there is quite a large border around each one right now. So they may end up having to get reconfigured, because they're probably about 50% of them, if not more, need to have the wording redone on each one. So that's part of the analysis that we're doing as we're looking at the redesign.
The one advantage of the location that is there right now is that when individuals go up either to icebreakers or look at John Rhodes 1 or 2, they tend to gravitate over them and just kind of wander before and after the game. So it does get some natural flow there. So that is an advantage right there. That could also take place in the new twin pad, but it does get some natural flow there. But also the lobby could as well, between the pool and the arena area. That's another, as stated, a potential opportunity to, because you want to have the natural flow to just people while they're waiting gravitate there. So.
Yeah, no, you're right, Brent. The plaques do get a lot of exposure there. There's lots of people mulling about in that area for sure.
Yeah, but it's getting tired though. We agree on that, I think.
Yeah.
The one thing we discussed before too is, and there's going to be a cost involved, but we're thinking about something to add to the hall would be like if you had it could be web-based, maybe a video display. It's interactive that you could, Chris Alfano's in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to click on his name and maybe there's video of him in his sport or a little bit more detail of what's on the plaque. You know what I mean? Something like that. And then I don't think that if it was web-based, I don't think the cost would be that bad.
No, and we can do, I guess, some investigation too, because we do have a little bit of funding in order to do the move and the redesign. So, I think the idea of having some interactive touchscreen could be really interesting to share more information on each of the athletes as you scroll through. It's also great from an accessibility standpoint if you do potentially have any volume or anything like that. So, there's definitely benefits to having that as a potential option as well.
Great. So anyone else have new business?
No, I just on the timeline that we looked at with respect to receiving the packages, and hopefully we get a lot of nominations like we typically do, Virginia. The time frame for us to review and recommend, we just want to make sure that we have that have a good week or two to take a look at as committee members. 2 years ago we were able to do it, and then we did it at the Ermatinger site, and it worked out quite well. Last year was more virtual. Just enough time for the committee to have a good chance, especially if there's a lot of nominations, which some years there have been.
Yeah, there was definitely, we've got like a good 3 weeks time frame in there before we have the PRAC meeting. So, ideally we can have the meeting within a couple of weeks of the applications being received. Once the deadline closes, we can easily have those compiled and ready to go out to committee members to start reviewing by just looking at the calendar, by the 11th, really, right? So it doesn't take that long because we can start compiling the information as they arrive and get it ready to go out right away.
Can you remind, sorry, Mark, I just want to ask a question if that's okay.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, how many years, just confirm how many years once the nomination's made? Is it 3? I'm just trying to remember from memory that could stay they're active to look at.
I thought
I think it's 3. I think it is.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I reviewed the Hall of Fame guide, I guess, when I was onboarding with the position. I believe it is 3 years.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. And then at the end of, if someone hasn't gotten in after 3 years, we usually get feedback to the person who's doing the nominating and saying, you can resubmit it with additional information. And sometimes that's happened. Some people have gotten in on the second time around.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. So next meeting, oh, sorry, Mark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the next meeting.
Ideally, if possible, just to make sure that we stay on track with getting everything to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for the May meeting. We'd want to try to meet sometime around the 20th, 21st. That would give over a week for committee members to review the information.
Mm-hmm.
Is a lunch meeting sometime in there feasible for everybody?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, lunch meetings are always good.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, lunches works well, Virginia, for me as well.
Okay, perfect. So is the Wednesday, April 20th okay for the next meeting then? At noon?
Yes, for me.
Should work for me.
Yeah, the 20th is good.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, and then motion to adjourn.
Brent and Mark, all in favor? Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Nice meeting you, Yari.
Nice meeting you
Nice
as
meeting
well.
you,
Looking
Yuri.
forward to